Page number 113. Answer. Number 1. The first man in space. Yuri Gagarin was the first man to fly into space. He belonged to Russia. He had to go under a very hard training before he was put into space. At first, he was trained in the art of landing with the help of parachute. Sometimes he was thrown from the aeroplane and had to come down with the help of a parachute. Sometimes he would fall in an ocean and had to reach the shore, mane sahil, by swimming, or he would fall on the top of a tree in a jungle. He had to spin, mane tezi se ghumna, at a very high speed. He had to whirl, mane ghumna, through the air like a screw. He began to feel giddy, mane sar chakrana. His eyes began to pain. The landing was very dangerous, mane khatarnak. While coming down, he lost all senses of direction. Number 2. Training in hot room. Another part of the training was in an extremely hot room. He began to perspire, mane pasina ana, profusely, mane kasrat se. Very often he had to sit in a room and was asked to go on writing his name. During this time, the air was slowly pumped out of the room and he became senseless. The room was filled with air again and he came to his senses. He was also asked to solve the simple sums, mane savalat, of arithmetic. Number 3. Training on table and chair. After that he was laid on vibrating, mane thartharana, table. It vibrated at the rate of 200 per minute. Then he was tied to a rotating, mane ghumne wali, chair, which went round and round in a great speed. He was taken up in an aeroplane. He was made to fly very fast and very high. He was made weightless, mane bewazan, for a few seconds. He could not pick up anything. The page number 114. Object of giving these tests was to make sure, mane yakini, if he could remain in his senses in all circumstances. Number 4. Boarded the spaceship. Yuri Gagarin boarded the spaceship Vostok. The ship was launched, mane choda gaya, with the help of rockets. After some time, he began to feel the pressure. He felt that the body was becoming heavy, mane bhari. Soon the speed of the Vostok was 18,000 miles per hour and pressure of air ended. After reaching the orbit, he became weightless. His things and papers seemed to be floating. He was at the height of 200 miles at that time. He heard a song from the earth. He himself sang. He saw 2 dawns in the same day. He saw the sun and the stars shining brightly. He felt thirsty, mane pyas, and drank water. He also took his breakfast. Number 5. Began to come down. Soon he began to come down. The front rockets were fired for decreasing the speed. He began to get weight and uneasy. His ship began to circle round and round. Soon the parachute opened and he landed at a place which was away from the launching station. An old lady who was working in the field got frightened, mane khaufzada hui, to see the parachute coming down. But when Yuri Gagarin came out of the plane and talked to her in Russian language, she lost her fear. Some tractor drivers came running and greeted him warmly. Question number 2. Describe the first human flight into the space as narrated by Patrick Pringle in his article, The First Man in Space. Or, who was Yuri Gagarin? Why is he so famous all the world over? Page number 115. Answer. Number 1. Yuri Gagarin. Yuri Gagarin was the first man to go in space. He was a brave Russian. He went in space in Vostok in April 1961. He underwent a severe, mane sakht, training before the space flight. He boarded, mane sawar hua, the spaceship and the rockets were fired. They pushed the spaceship upward. It was a horrible, mane khaufnak, scene, but to Yuri Gagarin it was very quiet. Number 2. Felt pressure. Soon he felt pressure, mane dabav, of the air. He felt as if his head was bursting, mane phatna. His body became heavy like a stone. He had flown for 70 seconds. After another 30 seconds, he reached the height of 7,000 meters. The pressure increased as other rockets were fired to increase speed. Number 3. End of pressure and become weightless. The speed of Vostok was raised to 18,000 miles per hour. Now the pressure of air ended. He lost his weight altogether. He was flying at a distance of 200 miles from the earth. He saw the sun, the stars, the earth shining brightly. He saw 2 dawns in the same day. He saw morning and evening, day and night. He went from 12 April to 11 April. He was very happy to see all this. He ate food and drank water. A few drops of water fell away and flew here and there in his cabin. He himself could float, mane tärna, there, being weightless. Number 3. Coming down. Soon the time for coming down came. The front rockets were fired to decrease the speed. Yuri Gagarin, page number 116, gained weight and felt uneasy. His spaceship began to circle round and round like a centrifugal chair. As the spaceship entered the air, its upper part caught fire, but the temperature of his room was normal. Soon after this, the parachutes opened and the spaceship touched the earth near a field of potatoes. Yuri Gagarin came out victorious. Number 5. Famous all over the world. Yuri Gagarin is famous, mane mashhoor, all the world over, because he was the first man to go in space, as well as to go round the earth in orbit, mane mehvar, at a distance of 200 miles from the earth. Chapter number 14. Direct energy from the sun. Urdu tarjuma. एटमी तवानाई के अलावा बाकी तमाम तवानाई सूरज से हासिल होती है. सूरज वो ज़रिया है जिससे ज़मीन को हरारत हासिल होती है. अगर सूरज ज़मीन को हरारत मुहैया ना करे तो कुराए अर्ज़ पर मौजूद तेल, कोयला, कुदरती गैस और ईंधन वगैरह 3 दिन में ख़त्म हो जाए. ज़मीन पर सब्ज़ा सूरज की रोशनी के बायस उगता है. ज़िंदगी का दारोमदार सूरज पर है. साइंसदान शमसी तवानाई को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल में लाने के लिए काम कर रहे हैं. शमसी तवानाई से पानी गर्म करने के लिए पानी का हीटर तैयार किया गया है. इसकी शक्ल एक बक्स से मुशाबे होती है और इसमें पाइप होते हैं. ये मकान की छत पर रखा जाता है. पानी पाइपों के जाल में से गुज़रता है. ये जाल धूप से गर्मी हासिल करता है और पानी गर्म हो जाता है. इसके बाद इस पानी को तालाब में पहुंचा दिया जाता है, जहां से घर वाले ज़रूरत के मुताबिक इस्तेमाल करते हैं. फ्लोरिडा में 50,000 से ज़्यादा घरों में पानी इसी तरह गर्म किया जाता है. शमसी तवानाई का एक और इस्तेमाल गर्मी का पंप है. ये रेफ्रिजरेटर के उलट होता है. अमेरिका में ऐसे मकानात भी बनाए गए हैं जो शमसी तवानाई से हरारत हासिल करते हैं. शमसी तवानाई से चलने वाले चूल्हे, भट्टियाँ और बैटरियाँ भी तैयार की गई हैं. शमसी तवानाई से चलने वाले कुकर हिंदुस्तान, सूडान और मशरक़ी अफ़्रीका में इस्तेमाल होते हैं. शमसी तवानाई से बैटरियाँ बनाई और चार्ज भी की जाती हैं. रॉकेटों को खला में भेजने के लिए शमसी, पेज नंबर 117, तवानाई इस्तेमाल करने की कोशिश की जा रही है. फ्रांसीसी साइंसदानों ने शमसी चिराग भी बना लिए हैं. दिन के वक्त इन चिरागों को धूप में रख दिया जाता है. रात के वक्त वो जमा शुदा हरारत रोशनी की शक्ल में खारिज करते हैं. फ्रांसीसी इंजीनियरों ने शमसी भट्टियाँ भी बनाई हैं, जिनमें 130 पौंड लोहा फी घंटा पिघलाया जा सकता है. शमसी तवानाई से बिजली भी पैदा की जाती है. सूरज की तवानाई और हरारत को मुनासिब तरीके से इस्तेमाल में लाकर हम बेहतर ज़िंदगी गुजार सकते हैं. घरों को आरामदेह बना सकते हैं. गाड़ियों की रफ्तार बढ़ा सकते हैं. इसकी बदौलत हम भूख का खात्मा कर सकते हैं. Important questions. Question number 1. We know that all the energy mankind has ever used come from the sun with the exception of nuclear energy. Yet we are only now beginning to use that vast and almost inexhaustible source of energy in the sky directly. Page 165. These are the opening sentences of Egon Larsson's essay direct energy from the sun. Describe some of the devices invented by man to trap and utilize the heat of the sun for the benefit of mankind. Or, solar energy is a great source of power for man. Modern scientists have been continuously trying to harness this power, and they have to a certain extent succeeded in their mission. Now we can raise the standard of life by using solar energy. These sentences have been extracted from the lesson Direct Energy from the Sun, give an account of page number 118. How is the solar energy being used for the benefits of man today? Or, the most primitive device for catching and trapping the heat of the sun is the gardener's greenhouse. Its modern offspring is the solar water heater, usually a coil of pipes placed in a shallow box on the roof of a house, embedded in black concrete. Money black accepts the sun rays more easily, white reflects them, and covered with a glass pane. Page 165. These lines have been taken from the essay Direct Energy from the Sun by Egon Larson. In your own words, describe some of the ways in which we can get more energy from the sun, or how is the solar energy being used for the benefit of man today, or how is the modern man utilizing the solar energy? Answer: the use of solar energy. The sun is the vast and unlimited mane la mahdud source of heat and energy. Mane tawanai. It is perhaps the biggest source of heat and energy. It is a fact that if the sun stops giving its heat and energy, then all the oil, coal, gas, and fuel of the world will last only in 3 days. The energy of the sun is necessary for keeping life on this earth. Our crops, mane fasle, cannot grow if there is no sun. Man has been continuously mutawatir trying to use the solar energy. Mane Shamsi Tawanai. The gardener's greenhouse was the page number 119. First form of utilization of solar energy by man. Scientists are busy in finding ways and means to trap the heat and energy of the sun. They have succeeded to some extent in their mission and have invented mane ijad karna many devices. Some of them are as under. Number 1, solar water heater. The scientists have made a solar water heater. It is very simple. A coil of pipes is placed in a box on the roof of the house. It is covered with a glass pane. The water in the pipes is heated by the sun. After that, it is pumped into a hot water tank, mane talab tanki. The people get hot water from this tank. In Florida only, more than 50,000 houses are getting their water heated by solar energy. Number 2, solar heat pump. Solar heat pumps have also been designed by the engineers. They get heat from the atmosphere, soil, and water and bring into human use. It works like a reversed mane ulta refrigerator. Many heat pumps, when switched on the reverse, work as refrigerators. Thousands of heat pumps have been made in America. Number 3, solar furnace. Solar furnaces, Shamsi Bhattiyan, have also been built in France. These are very big. 130 pound of iron, mane loha, can be melted, mane piglana, in these furnaces per hour. Number 4, solar battery. Solar battery has also been invented. It has proved so powerful that it can send rockets into space. It can be helpful, mane madadgar, in providing mane mahayya karna electricity. Number 5, solar lamp. Solar lamps have been made by the French. Page number 120. Engineers. During the day, the solar lamp is put out in the sun. The solar energy collects mane ikattha hona in the cells. It is taken indoors at night. When switched on, mane jalana, it gives light for a few hours. Number 6, solar cookers. Solar cookers have also been invented. It uses the heat of the sun for cooking. India, Sudan, and East Africa are using solar cooker. Number 7, solar house. The Americans have built solar houses. The heat and energy of the sun is stored, mane zakhira karna, in these houses and released, mane chhorna, gradually, mane ahista ahista, when it is needed. This heat keeps the house warm. Number 8. Solar still. Solar still माने कशीद करने का आला has also been made. It is used for distillation माने तकतीर in hot region माने इलाके. Fresh water is distilled from saltish माने नमकीन water with the help of solar energy. Fresh water collects in a fresh water collector and salt is left behind in the salt water box. Solar energy is a great source of power. The scientists are trying to harness money काम लेना this power. We can raise our standard of living by using solar energy. We can have better clothes, faster trains, and better houses. We can banish hunger. Question number 1. What is the solar energy? How is it harnessed and made to serve man? Or write a short note on solar energy. Answer: the solar energy. Heat and energy mani tawanai is very necessary for life. If page number 121. There had been no sun, there would have been no life on this earth. The sun is vast, mane wasi, and unlimited, mane la mehdud, source of energy. If we stop taking energy from the sun, all oil, gas, and coal of the earth will last in only 3 days. Solar energy is one of the most powerful source of power. The earth grows greenery only due to the heat of the sun. If the sun stops shining, there can grow no greenery on the earth. Crops cannot grow without the heat of the sun. Scientists are trying best to utilize mane istemal the solar energy. They are trying to preserve mane mehfooz karna the heat of the sun so that it may be used when required. B. Utilization of solar energy. Number 1. Gardener's house. Gardener's house was the first form of utilization of solar energy by man. Number 2. Solar water heater. In Florida, 50,000 people are getting their water heated by solar energy. They place coils of pipes on their roofs. The water circulates mane gardish karna through these coils and gets heated due to the heat of the sun. Then it is pumped into a hot water tank, out of which it is used for household use. Number 3. Solar cooker. India has made solar cookers. These solar cookers are being used in India, Sudan, and East Africa. Number 4. Solar houses. Solar houses have been made in America. The heat of the sun is stored in these houses. These houses can make the rooms warm in winter. Page number 122. Number 5. Solar batteries. Solar batteries have also been invented. It has proved so powerful that it can send rockets in space. Solar batteries are also helpful in providing electricity. Number 6. Solar furnace. Solar furnaces, mane bhattiyan, have also been built. A very large furnace has been built in France. In research station in the Pyrenees, it melts 130 lbs of iron in 1 hour. Number 7. Solar lamps. French scientists have also built solar lamps. It stores heat during the day and can be switched on at night to give fluorescent light for hours. Number 3. Solar still. Solar energy is also being used to get fresh water from the sea. A solar still is used for distillation in hot regions. Pure water is distilled from saltish water with the help of solar energy. The day is not far when solar energy will be used at a large scale. Page number 122 continued. Chapter number 15. Pavlov. उर्दू तर्जुमा. Pavlov एक माहिर हैवानात था. वो रूस का रहने वाला था. उसने निज़ाम हज़्म और निज़ाम अज़बी के बारे में हैरत अंगेज़ इंकशाफात किए. उसने साबित किया कि ख़ास नौइयत की खुराक हज़म करने वाली माए यानी पानी बहाव में बहुत ममदो मुआविन होती है. खुराक की अदम मौजूदगी में रस यानी पानी फ़ौरन रुक जाता है. इसका एक अहम तजर्बा ये था कि कुत्ते को खुराक दिखाई जाती थी और इसके मुंह में पानी यानी रस आ जाता था. ये पानी खुराक हज़म करने के काम में मदद देता है. इसे रद्द अमल कहते हैं. कुत्ते को बार बार खाना देते वक्त घंटी बजाई गई या सुई चबोई गई. कुत्ता इस चीज़ का आदी हो गया. अब अगर इसे खुराक दिए बगैर भी घंटी बजाई जाती या सुई चबोई जाती तो पेज नंबर 123. इसके मुंह में पानी आ जाता. इसको मशरूत रद्द अमल कहते हैं. इस किस्म का फ़ेल दिमाग के एक हिस्से से पैदा होता है. मुहर्रकात की तब्दीली की सूरत में इसके बरक्स असरात भी मुरतब हो सकते हैं। एक दफ़ा इसने एक कुत्ते पर तजर्बा करना चाहा। उसने कुत्ते पर ज़ेन कसने का हुक्म दिया। कुछ देर के बाद जब वो वापस आया तो उसने देखा कि कुत्ता सो रहा है। उसने इससे ये नतीजा अखज़ किया कि नींद भी एक गैर इरादी फ़ेल है। इसका नज़रिया ये था कि एसाबी अमराज का सबब ज़्यादातर जिस्मानी तकलीफ़ होती है और ये बात दुरुस्त नहीं कि दिमागी तकलीफ़ का असर एसाब पर पड़ता है। 1924 में लेनिन ने इसे सरकारी एजाज़ से नवाजा और इसकी तहकीकात को किताबी सूरत में शाया किया गया। वो एक सीधा साधा और मेहनती आदमी था। वो बहुत रहमदिल था। जब जंग अजीम के दौरान खुराक की किल्लत हुई तो वो कुत्तों को भी अपने साथ खुराक में शामिल करता था। वो खुद सब्जियां बोता था। वो वक्त का बड़ा पाबंद था। सुबह 8 बजे से रात 1 बजे तक उसने हर काम के लिए वक्त मुकर्रर कर रखा था। वो क्लासरूम में हमेशा वक्त पर पहुंचता था। इसके बाद इसके साथियों ने दुनिया को हयातियात के इल्म में नई नई राहें दिखाईं। Important questions. Question number 1. The work which Pavlov had been doing on digestion now led him on to a new subject for research and to a new discoveries. Page number 171. This is the opening sentence of the essay on Pavlov. Describe in detail the new discoveries made by Pavlov. Or, what do you know about the work of the famous Russian biologist Pavlov? Or, Pavlov and his followers gave a clear idea of the differences between various kinds of mental troubles which the strain of modern civilized life causes. Page 174. Page number 124. Discuss in detail giving examples from Pavlov's work. Or, in 1924, Pavlov reached the age of 75 and Lenin issued a special decree giving official recognition to Pavlov's services to science. Page 173. This sentence has been taken from the essay on Pavlov in East and West. What have you learned from this essay about Pavlov's way of life and scientific achievements and discoveries? Or, he had found that the mere sight of food produced a plentiful flow of digestive juice, but that if the food were taken away, the flow stopped. Page 171. This action is known by a certain term. What is that term? Give examples of this action from the essay Pavlov. Answer. Number 1. Pavlov's work. Pavlov was famous Mane Mashhur Russian biologist. He worked on the body and the mind relation, Mane Taluk, in the animal life. He made many experiments on digestive system, Mane Nizam Hazm. He discovered, Mane Daryaft Karna, that the mere sight of food produced the flow of saliva, Mane La Bidahan, the digestive juice. The flow of saliva stopped when the food was removed. He also came to know that nervous system, Mane Asabi Nizam, was also page number 125, deeply connected with the digestive juices. When the animal sees the food, saliva begins to flow. The sight of food causes stimulus, which results in the flow of saliva. This flow of saliva is a reflex action. Number 2. Discovered stimuli. Pavlov discovered that besides food, other stimuli could also cause reflection. He made experiments. He rang the bell or flashed Mane Roshan ki, a light, or pricked a pin just as food was presented to the animal. After some time, dog became habitual Mane Chuboya of this new stimulant. Then even if the bell was rung without presenting the food, or the light was flashed, or the pin was pricked, the saliva flowed in the mouth of the dog. It showed that the animal had developed a conditional reflex, Mane Mashrut Radyamal. This was called the conditional reflex, and it explained that there was a relation between the stimuli and the response. These conditional reflex are beyond control. The simple reflex was born in response, mane jawab, to a real stimulus, and the conditional reflex was born in response to an artificial, mane masnui stimulus. This discovery of Pavlov led to a great discussion, mane behes. Number 3. Nervous system controls reflex action. Pavlov told the world that reflex action or conditional action were not controlled by brain, mane dimag, but by nervous system. He discovered that if stimuli were changed, negative results would be produced, mane पैदा होना. Number 4. Sleep, a reflex action. Pavlov made another important discovery in 1915. He got a dog for experiments. He ordered that the dog should be harnessed, mane zen kasna. When he came back, he found page number 126, the dog lying asleep. He made further experiments and found that the sleep was also a reflex action. Before Pavlov, it was thought that much depended on the consciousness, mane shaur, of men and animals, but he proved, mane sabit kiya, that we do not work consciously, mane janbujhkar, at all times, but very often we work unconsciously as well. This discovery opened a new chapter for the scientists who came afterwards. Question number 2. Pavlov regulated his life like machine. Discuss. Or Pavlov was a very punctual person. Prove it with evidence. Or what have you learned about Pavlov as a man and as a scientist from the essays on him included in East and West? Answer. Pavlov was a Russian scientist. He was the son of a priest, Mane Padri. His wife was a teacher. He was married when he was young.
Dear students, this audio recording has been done for you by Humanitarian Development Organization, Abbottabad. HTO is striving hard to bring positive change in sectors of health, education, and livelihood since 2011, non-funded and purely on self-help basis. Organization has not only converted the textbooks of KPK into audio form, but also of the whole country from FA to master's level, including courses of Allama Iqbal Open University. The core objective of this educational campaign is to enable visually challenged students to continue their studies up to the higher levels and play their positive role in the prosperity of their nation and country. These all recordings are being provided totally free of cost to visually challenged students. Other students rather than visually challenged students can also get benefit of this educational convenience. Humanitarian Development Organization, Abbottabad. Email hdoatd@gmail.com. Website hdorg.net. Contact 03459541
Page number 126 continued. Number 1. Simple and hard-working. Pavlov was very simple. When tram service stopped during war, he went to his laboratory on bicycle. When electric light failed and even the candles were not available, he used wooden torches for light. He was very industrious, mane mehnati. He did not hate manual, mane dasti work. He worked personally, mane zati taur par, in his garden. He dug the soil, mane zameen, and grew vegetable, mane sabziyan, on it to make up the shortage, mane kami, of food. He often said, I, page number 127, cannot compare the greatest satisfaction, mane tasalli, derived, mane hasil hona, from manual labor with that obtained from mental effort, mane koshish. He was proud of his grandfather who plowed, mane hal chalana, with his own hands. He continued his research during very hard times. In the last 10 years of his life, he was the head of 3 large research departments. Number 2. Kind-hearted. Pavlov was very kind-hearted. In the difficult times when many of his dogs died, he shared his own meal with the dogs. Number 3. Punctual. Pavlov was very regular and punctual, mane waqt ka paband. In his work, he had regulated, mane baqaida karna, his life like a machine, rather a watch. He was very particular about his timetable and worked regularly, mane baqaidgi. He was punctual to the second. His daily activities, mane sargarmiyan, were performed according to an arranged, mane tartib shuda timetable. He would start and end his everyday work at the fixed hours. He took his breakfast, mane nashta, would leave for his laboratory, had his lunch, mane dopahr ka khana, and dinner, mane sham ka khana, at the right hours. He took his breakfast exactly at 8 a.m. and left for one of his laboratories at 9:30. He worked there till 12:30. Then he took his lunch. He again started his work. He took dinner at 6 p.m. He rested till 9 p.m. He worked in his study room from 10 p.m. to 1 p.m. and then went to sleep. He kept to the timetable for years without change. It is said that he entered the classroom punctually, not to the minute, but to the second, and his last sentence ended as the page number 128. Bell went. It was because of this hard timetable that he continued his research, mane tahqiq, to the end of his life. 4. Scientist. Pavlov was a great scientist. He worked on digestion. He discovered that mere sight of food produced the flow of saliva in dogs. When it was removed, the flow of saliva stopped. It indicated, mane zahir karna, that the nervous system of animals played a great role in controlling the flow of saliva. He made further experiments. He proved that the flow of saliva at the site of the food was not under the control of the animals. It was a reflex action. He also proved that there could be other stimuli which could produce saliva. This could be called conditional reflex action. This discovery led to a great discussion. Pavlov opened new chapter for the scientist. Page number 128 continued. Chapter number 16, Iqbal's message. Urdu tarjuma. पाकिस्तान बनाने में दो आदमी पेश थे, अल्लामा इकबाल और कायद आज़म। अल्लामा इकबाल ने पाकिस्तान का ख्वाब देखा, कायद आज़म को मुसलमानों की क़ियादत पर आमादा किया और कायद आज़म इस ख्वाब को पूरा कर दिखाया। अल्लामा इकबाल ने कहा कि मुसलमान हिंदुओं से अलहदा कौम हैं, इन्हें अपना अलग खित्ता ज़मीन हासिल करना चाहिए, जहाँ वो आज़ादाना तौर पर अपनी ज़िंदगी अपने मज़हब, कौमी और सकाफ़ती विरसों के साथ गुजार सकें, अपने मुल्क और मईशत को फ़रोग़ दे सकें। आपने मुतालबा किया कि मुसलमानों को पंजाब, सिंध, सूबा सरहद और बलोचिस्तान पर मुश्तमिल इलाका दे दिया जाए। अलहदा वतन में मुसलमानों के हुकूक महफूज हो जाएंगे और मुल्क खून रेज़ हंगामों से महफूज हो जाएगा। अल्लामा इकबाल ने मुसलमानों से कहा कि अगर वो बाइज़्ज़त ज़िंदगी गुजारना चाहते हैं तो उन्हें अपने मकासद के उसूल में मसरूफ़ हो जाना चाहिए, इन्हें बेअमली की ज़िंदगी से बाज आ जाना चाहिए, इन्हें अपने पेज नंबर 129 अंदर खुदी और ख़ुद एतमादी पैदा करनी चाहिए। आपने कहा कि अगर इस्लाम के मानने वाले सही मानों में इस्लाम पर अमल पैरा हो जाएं तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत इन्हें हुसूल मकसद से नहीं रोक सकती। आपने कहा इस्लाम एक अजीम कुव्वत है, इस्लाम ने मुसलमानों को मसाइब और आलाम से निजात दिलाई है। अल्लामा इकबाल ने कायद आज़म को कहा कि वो मुसलमानों में इत्तेहाद यगानगत पैदा करें। इनका ख्याल था कि कायद आज़म वाहिद रहनुमा हैं जो इस वक्त मुसलमानों की रहनुमाई कर सकते हैं। अल्लामा इकबाल एक दूर अंदेश इंसान थे। वो जानते थे कि अलहदा मुमलिकत के उसूल के बगैर मुसलमान सियासी और इक़्तिसादी तौर पर आज़ाद ना रह सकेंगे और हिंदुओं के ग़ुलाम रहेंगे। Important questions. Question number 1. Communalism in its higher aspect, then, is indispensable to the formation of a harmonious whole in a country like India. Page 175. This sentence has been taken from Iqbal's message by S.A. Waheed. What argument does Iqbal present in support of the above statement? Discuss in detail. Or summarize in about 3 pages of your answer book the passages quoted by S.A. Waheed from Iqbal's presidential address at the annual session of the Muslim League held at Allahabad in 1930. Or summarize the speech of Allama Iqbal at the annual session of the Muslim League held at Allahabad in 1930. Answer. Number 1. Speech of Iqbal. Allama Muhammad Iqbal presided over the annual page number 130 session of the All India Muslim League at Allahabad in 1930. In his presidential Mane Sadarti address, Mane Khatab, he said that he believed in communalism, Mane Firqa Parasti, but not in its narrow Mane Tang sense, but in a higher aspect. It was an indispensable Mane Na Gurez thing to form a harmonious whole in a large country like India. He believed that two-nation Hindus and Muslims lived in India. It was the responsibility, mane zimmedari, of the majority, mane aksariyat, to let the minority live in their own way. The Muslims had been living with Hindus for centuries, but they did not form a nation with them, but with the Muslims of other countries of the world. Number 2. The Muslims a separate nation. He said that the Muslims were a separate nation because they had their own distinct mane mukhtalif culture and religion. In Islam, only the religion and culture determines mane tayyun karna nation. European nations were determined by geographical factors. The Hindus and the Muslims were separate nations in spite of living together in one country. India was still Hindu India and Muslim India. Being a separate nation, the Muslims of India were fully justified mane haq bajanib in demanding a separate homeland of their own. Number 3. Solution of problems. He further said that if the Hindus and Muslims lived side by side in one country, many complex religious and cultural problems would arise. The only way by which this subcontinent, Mane Barisagir, could be saved from disturbances at a large scale was the division of India into two states. In their new state, the Muslims should live according to their religious and cultural heritage. For this purpose, Punjab. Page number 131. Excluding Ambala division, Sindh, Balochistan, and NWFP would form a new state for Muslims. This Muslim state would also give political support, mane madad, to India, could serve as a defense line against foreign aggression. Number 4. Element of fear for the Hindus. Proposed state could in no way be an element of fear for the Hindus because in the new state all citizens would have freedom of practicing their own creed, mane aqaid. Iqbal makes his point clear by referring to an issue of the Times of India. In that issue, it was stated that in ancient mane Qadim India, the state framed laws regulating mane theek karna, the rates of interest, but in Muslim times, although Islam clearly forbids mane mana karna, the realization mane husul of interest on the money loaned, the Indian Muslim state imposed mane lagana, no restriction, mane pabandi, on the Hindus regarding such rates. The spirit was that each person was free to act according to his religious beliefs, mane akida. I therefore demand the formation of a consolidated Muslim state in the best interest of India and Islam. Question number 2. A separate federation of the Muslim provinces reformed on the lines I have suggested is the only course by which we can secure a peaceful India and save Muslims. Page 181. This sentence was a part of a letter that Iqbal wrote to the Quaid-e-Azam in 1937. Reproduce in your own words the arguments advanced by Dr. Iqbal in support of his proposal for a separate homeland for Muslims of India. Page number 132. Answer. Arguments advanced by Allama Iqbal. Allama Iqbal was a far-sighted mane durandesh man. He had a deep insight and thorough understanding mane ilm of the situation of India. He wrote a letter to Quaid-e-Azam in 1937. Mr. Jinnah was in London at that time. He wrote in this letter that he was the only man who could guide and lead the Muslims of subcontinent mane bare sagir. He could steer the nation clear in the storms towards their destination mane manzil-e maqsood. He also wrote that a separate mane alag federation of Muslim provinces was the only course by which the Muslims of India could save themselves from Hindu domination. He advanced mane pesh karna the following arguments mane dalail in support of his proposal for mane tajweez, a separate homeland for the Muslims. Number 1. Two nations. He said that Hindus and Muslims are two nations. Their habits, clothes, customs, and religion are different from one another. They had been living together in India for centuries, mane sadiyan, but there is nothing common in them. It would be dangerous, mane khatarnak, to solve the problems of India without considering mane khayal karna this fact. Western democracy would be a complete failure. It would not succeed unless the right of self-government was given to the Muslims in the areas where they were in majority. Besides, the country might face the threat of civil war, mane khana jangi. Hindu-Muslim riots were clear indication, mane ishara, of this danger. Number 2. Honorable life. He pointed out that the Muslims cannot lead an honorable, mane baizzat, life in India without their separate state. Page number 133. The Hindus are narrow-minded, mane tang nazar. Their sincerity is doubtful, mane mashkook. The Muslims cannot expect fair deal in their hands. Number 3. Beneficial. The establishment mane qiyam of a Muslim state was beneficial for both the Hindus and the Muslims. Hindu-Muslim clashes mane tasadum will end. It will also solve the problem of India as well as of Asia. She would serve as the best defense, mane difa, line against a foreign invasion, mane hamla. Number 4. Character of Hindu. Dr. Iqbal knew the character of Hindu mind. They showed sympathy, mane hamdardi, towards Muslims, but inwardly they had evil designs against Muslims, so it was necessary that the Muslims should have their own state. Number 5. Hindu domination. Iqbal thought that if the Hindus and Muslims jointly got freedom, the Muslims would become slaves of Hindus. It would be only the change of masters. In that case, the Hindus would rule them instead of the Englishmen. Therefore, the birth of Pakistan was not essential but self-evident as well. Number 6. Development of a culture. Dr. Iqbal suggested that the creation of separate state for them would enable the Indian Muslims to develop their own culture, mane sakafat. It would provide them with an opportunity, mane mauka, to get rid of non-essential elements included in Islam as a result of imperialism. Dr. Iqbal expressed his belief that a consolidated Muslim state had become the destiny, mane muqaddar, of the Indian Muslims. He refused mane tardeed karna, the charges that such a state, page number 134, would result in disorder. It would be less in population than several provinces of India, so it could easily provide protection, mane tahaffuz, to minorities, mane aqliyat. Question number 3. These phenomena are merely premonitions of a coming storm. This is the inevitable outcome of a wholly political civilization which has looked upon man as a thing to be exploited and not as a personality to be developed and enlarged by purely cultural forces. Page 178. These remarks are quoted in S. A. Wahid's article Introduction to Iqbal, narrate the main points of Iqbal's presidential speech in 1932 session of the Muslim Conference, or presiding over the session of Muslim Conference in 1932, Allama Iqbal elaborated the program for the Muslims of the subcontinent if they desired to lead an honorable life free to follow their own ideals. Page 177-178. This sentence has been taken from Iqbal's message by Dr. S. A. Wahid. What was Iqbal's program for Muslims? Reproduce in your own words salient features of Iqbal's address at the 1932 session of the Muslim Conference, or God changes not the conditions of a people until they themselves take the initiative to change their condition by constantly illuminating the zone of their daily activity in the light of a definite ideal. Page 179. Page number 135. This sentence has been taken from Iqbal's message in East and West. What have you learnt about Iqbal's message from this essay? Discuss in detail. Answer. Number 1. Allama Iqbal's program. Allama Iqbal was a far-sighted mane durandesh man. He had a deep insight and thorough understanding mane samaj of the situation of India. His insight mane basirat made him predict what was going to happen in the coming years in India. Number 2. Presidential address. In his presidential mane sadarti address at Muslim Conference in 1932, he warned mane muntabeh kiya the Muslims of the subcontinent about political storm in India. He pointed out that this storm will sweep over the whole of India and the rest of Asia. He said that the people of Asia would rise against the economic system that West had imposed upon the people of Asia. The system was the result of the Western civilization, mane tehzeeb, which was based on exploitation, mane istihsal. The West believed in the right of private ownership. A man could collect as much wealth as he liked. There was no responsibility, mane zimmedari, on him towards society. Islam, on the other hand, allows private ownership, but it also disciplines him to spend his wealth in service of mankind. It does not allow wealth to circulate in a few hands. It believes in equality, mane masawat. There is no high and low in Islam. Number 3. Development of ego. Dr. Iqbal pointed out that Muslims have, page number 136, forgotten the true spirit of Islam. It is the main cause of their downfall. The Muslims of India had not exploited the depth, mane gehrai, of their inner life. He told them that if they wanted to live an honorable, mane ba'izzat life, they should not sit idle. They should come forward, mane aage, and work for the achievement of their ideal, that is a free homeland. They should have faith and confidence among themselves. They should develop their individual as well as collective ego, mane khudi. They should realize their self. If they do so, they could build their own destiny. If they have self confidence in them, they could not be defeated by any power on earth. Iqbal said that Islam is a great power in itself. Islam has always saved Muslims and not vice versa. And if the Muslims live according to Islam, they can never be defeated. He said that God does not change the conditions of the people until they themselves take the initiative to change their condition by constantly illuminating, mane roshan karna, the zone of their daily activity in the light of a definite ideal. चैप्टर नंबर 17 द पख्तून्स उर्दू तर्जुमा। इस मजमून में मुसन्निफ़ ने पख्तूनों की आदात, रहन सहन, रिवायात और खसाइल पर तबसरा किया है। 1893 में डिवाइडर लाइन के ज़रिए सूबाई सरहद और अफ़गानिस्तान के दरमियान हद बंदी की गई, लेकिन ये लाइन महज एक अलामती हैसियत रखती है। ये बात वसूख के साथ नहीं की जा सकती कि पठानों या पख्तूनों को 11वीं सदी ईस्वी से पहले सुराग नहीं मिलता। एक यूनानी मौरख हॉवर्ड विट्स के ख़्याल में ये कौम पख्ती की औलाद है। पख्तून और पठान एक ही कौम है। मौरख़ीन इस बात पर मुत्तफ़िक़ हैं कि पठान इसराइल के एक गुमशुदा कबीले की औलाद हैं जो घूमते फिरते इस इलाके में आकर आबाद हो गए। पेज नंबर 137। मुसन्निफ़ के ख़्याल में पख्तूनों और पठानों में नुमायाँ फ़र्क है। पख्तून पहाड़ी इलाके में बसते हैं जबकि पठान मैदानी इलाके में बसते हैं। पख्तून बड़े जंगजू हैं, पठानों को आसानी से कंट्रोल किया जा सकता है। पख्तूनों में अक्सर लड़ाई का बाज़ार गर्म रहता है। पख्तून मैदानी इलाके में रहने वाले पठानों से नबर्द आज़मा रहे हैं और इन्हें ज़ेर करने के बाद ख़ुद वहाँ आबाद हो गए। पख्तूनों का एक ख़ास ज़ाब्ता हयात भी है जिसको पख्तून दली कहते हैं। इसके 3 उसूल हैं। नंबर 1, पनाह या खुराक या दोनों चीज़ें मांगने वाले को ज़रूर दें। नंबर 2, अगर एक शख्स हिफाजत या अमान मांगे तो उसे ज़रूरी दी जाए। नंबर 3, बैरूनी हमला आवरों को मिलकर पसपा किया जाना चाहिए। पख्तूनों में यकजहती और इत्तेहाद का फुक़दान है। पख्तून शायर खुशहाल खान खटक ने औरंगज़ेब आलमगीर के हाथों ज़िल्लत के बाद बदला लेने के लिए पठानों को मुत्तहिद करना चाहा, लेकिन अपनी शोला नवाई के बावजूद इस मुश्किल काम में कामयाब न हो सका। मुसन्निफ़ पठानों को 3 हिस्सों में बांटता है। एक वो पठान जो मैदानी इलाके में रहते हैं, दूसरे वो पख्तून जो कबायली इलाके में रहते हैं, तीसरे वो पख्तून जो अफ़गानिस्तान में रहते हैं। पठानों को पहले सिखों ने मुसख्खर किया, इसके बाद अंग्रेज़ अपने ज़ेर असर ले आए। अब वो पाकिस्तान के बाशिंदे हैं। कबायली इलाके के पख्तूनों के ताल्लुकात पाकिस्तान और अफ़गानिस्तान दोनों से हैं। Important questions. Question number 1. Pakhtunwali is not without nobility even if it springs from violence and mistrust. Page 197. Says Peter Main in The Narrow Smile. According to him, what is the chief characteristic of Pakhtunwali? Or, the term Pathan is the Indian mispronunciation of the name. The Pathans give themselves Pakhtun. Page 69. Page number 138. The above sentence has been taken from the essay The Pakhtuns by Peter Main. State in your own words the history of the Pakhtuns and the unique characteristics that the writer ascribes to them. Page 195. Or, I had time to develop a deep love for them as people. I wanted to see them again, particularly certain of them whom I still thought of as friends. Says Peter Main about Pakhtuns in his essay. The Pakhtuns explain in your own words Main's views of Pakhtuns. Or, What is the difference between Pashtun and Pathans? Or what is the code of ethics of Pashtuns? Or what does Peter Main say of Pashtun's notion of invincibility? And what difference does he draw between Pathans and Pashtuns? Answer. Number 1. Pashtun Wali. It is a kind of code to be practiced by the tribes during their early days. The Pashtuns had always been on war with one another for water and meadows, mane charagahein. The tribes living in plains were often raided, mane hamla karna, by the tribal. Page number 139. People who would expel them from Green Valley. When the fight became too frequent, it became necessary for them to adopt a kind of code to be practiced by the tribes. It was called Pakhtunwali. It had 3 principles. Number 1. To give food and shelter to all who demanded. Number 2. To grant asylum to all who needed. Number 3. To be united against any form of attack. Number 2. Origin of Pakhtuns. It is very difficult to trace the origin, mane ibtida, of Pakhtuns. Nothing can be said with certainty. Mane yakeen. One wonders, mane हैरान होना, who they were and where they came from. Some people claim that they are the descendants, mane aulad, of Pakti, tribe in the 5th century BC. Others trace their origin is the lost tribe, mane kabila, of Israelis. There is no proof of either side. Point A. Pakhtuns. The Pakhtuns are those who live in the rough mountains to the northwest of Pakistan. They are warlike, mane jangju, brave and fierce, mane khoonkhwar, from the very birth. They are warriors, mane jangju. They were never defeated by the invaders, mane hamlaawar. They always, mane hamesha, remained a force. They think themselves to be invincible, mane naqable tasghir, and infallible. Point number B. Pathans. The Pathans, on the other hand, live on the fertile, mane zarkhiz, land near hills. They are not furious. They can be controlled easily. They are quite gentle. The Pathans were ruled by Sikhs and then by the Englishmen. Now they live in Pakistan. Page number 140. Number 3. Difference between Pakhtuns and Pathans. The Pakhtuns and Pathans are almost different from each other in their habits. Not only their geographical conditions are different, but their codes of ethics are also different. The Pakhtuns are brave, warlike, and furious. They live in rough mountains, while Pathan live on the fertile land. They are not furious. They can be controlled easily. Number 4. Notion of invincibility. The Pakhtuns think themselves invincible and infallible. They think that they cannot be subdued. This misunderstanding, mane galatfahmi, has grown up for centuries. The real fact is that no attempt was ever made to occupy their land. Most of the Pakhtuns living in the plains was easily conquered, mane fatah kiya, by the Sikhs and British. Those who remained independent were helped by the fact that they lived in remote, mane dur and impossible mountains. They maintained their freedom, but it was at the cost, mane कीमत, of poverty. Chapter number 18. The Responsibilities of Youth. Urdu तर्जुमा. कायदे आज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना ने इस्लामिया कॉलेज पेशावर के तलबा से ख़िताब करते हुए इनका शुक्रिया अदा किया कि उन्होंने सरहद में होने वाले रेफरेंडम में अनथक काम किया। इसके बाद फरमाया कि अब पाकिस्तान बन चुका है, इसके इस्तेहकाम के लिए मिलजुल कर काम करना चाहिए। आपका अवलीन फ़र्ज़ है कि अपनी आज़ादी को बरकरार रखने के लिए कोई दकीका फ़रोगुज़ाश्त ना करें। अब आप एक आज़ाद मुल्क में सांस ले रहे हैं। अब आपको इस किस्म की नुक्ताचीनी नहीं करनी चाहिए जैसे अंग्रेज़ों पर किया करते थे। आप सिर्फ तामीरी अंदाज़ की तनकीद करें। आपका मुल्क एक बाग है, आप इसके मालिक हैं। आप कोई ऐसा कदम ना उठाएं जो मुल्क और कौम के लिए नुकसानदेह हो। आप गुमराह कुन और जज्बाती नारों से मुतासर ना हों। तालीम और तजर्बे से अक्ल सीखें। सूबाई। पेज नंबर 141। तासुब से बालातर रहें, मुल्की मफाद को मुकद्दम ख्याल करें। आपने फरमाया सूबे में एक यूनिवर्सिटी जल्द ही कायम कर दी जाएगी। आपका ये फ़र्ज़ है कि सुकून कल्ब और पूरी दिल जमी से तालीम हासिल करें ताकि बाद में अपनी कौमी ज़िम्मेदारियाँ पूरी करने के काबिल हो सकें। हुकूमत को काम करने का मौका दें। हुकूमत आपको मायूस नहीं करेगी। आपने मज़ीद फरमाया कि अपनी हुकूमत के क़याम से इनके मुस्तकबिल की जो नई राहें खुली हैं इनकी तरफ तवज्जो दें। साइंस, बीमा और बैंकारी की तरफ तवज्जो दें। आपने एक तालिब की मिसाल भी दी जो पहले 150 रुपये पर क्लर्क भर्ती हो गया, बाद में 500 रुपये पर बैंक में मुलाजिम हो गया और अब 1500 रुपये माहवार हासिल कर रहा है। तलबा तालीम हासिल करते वक्त ये बात पेश नज़र रखें कि वो सिर्फ क्लर्क ही नहीं बने बल्कि तमाम राहें उनके लिए खुली हैं। आखिर में आपने तलबा को तलकीन की कि वो नज़्म व ज़ब्त को हर सूरत में बरकरार रखें। Important questions. Question number 1. Now we have achieved our national goal. You will expect me to give you a bit of advice the manner in which we can put our shoulders amid the most difficult and important task of building up our new state into what we all wish to be it, namely one of the states in the world. Page 202. This sentence has been taken from the responsibilities of youth in East and West. State in your own words the advice given by Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah to the students of Islamia College, Peshawar. Or, the duties required of you are develop a sound sense of discipline, character, initiative, and a solid academic background. You must devote yourselves wholeheartedly to your studies, for that is your first obligation to yourselves, your parents, and the state. Page 203. Page number 142. This sentence has been extracted from the responsibilities of youth. What advice did the founder of Pakistan give to the students? Or, what are the responsibilities of the students as pointed out by Quaid-e-Azam in his historical address at Islamia College, Peshawar on 12th April 1948? Or, remember, we are building up a state which is going to play its full part in the destinies of the whole Islamic world. We, therefore, need a wider outlook, an outlook which transcends boundaries of patriotism, which should galvanize and weld us into one united and strong nation. Page 204. This sentence has been extracted from the responsibilities of youth. What advice the founder of Pakistan, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, gave to students? Answer. Main points of Quaid-e-Azam's address. Quaid-e-Azam addressed the students of Islamia College, Peshawar on 12th April 1948. Here are some of the main points of this address. Number 1. Thanked the students. Quaid-e-Azam thanked the students for having invited him to address Mane Khatab Karna them. He told them that he, page number 143, was very happy to be among them who had done their duty in the creation Mane Qiyam of Pakistan. They worked very hard during the referendum. Their goal was to achieve Pakistan and they had achieved it. Number 2. Criticism. The Quaid told the students that they were free now. Their outlook, Mane Nukta Nazar, should be changed. They should not criticize the government. It is not a foreign government. It is their own government. They are governed by their own representatives. Mane Numainde. They should criticize when the need arises. Their criticism should be constructive. Mane Tamiri. Criticism for the sake of criticism should be avoided. Mane Ijtinab. Number 3. Devote to studies. Quaid-e-Azam advised the students to devote themselves to studies wholeheartedly. They should not pay attention to wrong slogans. They should prepare themselves to become the leaders of the future. They should not think themselves the wisest, mane akal mantareen, but should get benefit of their elders' experiences. Number 4. Patriotism. Quaid-e-Azam told the students that he was happy to know that the students of NWFP looked down upon provincialism, mane subai tassub. It was a curse, mane lanat. Patriotism should stand first of all. They should think of their country before thinking of the province, district, town, mane zilla, village and themselves. It was their first and foremost, mane awaleen, duty to serve the country. They should work for the welfare, mane falahu behbood, of the people.